Red Sails to Capri, Chapter 9. I Didn't Say No. 8 days. Michael didn't know whether they went slowly or quickly. The days themselves seemed to drag by hour after hour. Still, surprisingly soon, it was Saturday again. Saturday, and tomorrow would be Sunday. Tomorrow. The word had a special sound. Michael felt as if he had been chasing tomorrows all his life, and now he was about to catch one. Then, just before he was ready to go to bed Saturday night, Petro came by. They talked for a while, and then, as Petro was leaving, he called back over his shoulder. "See you tomorrow, Michael." "Oh." Michael stared at him. He had forgotten about Petro. He and Petro were always together on Sunday. As long as Michael could remember, he and Petro had done something together on Sunday afternoon. But tomorrow? Michael stared at Petro as if he were looking at a ghost. "Michael, what's the matter?" "Nothing, Petro, only, Petro, I won't be able to meet you tomorrow." "Won't be able to meet me? Why not?" I just can't." "Do you have to work?" Petro came back a few steps and stood close to Michael. "If you have to work, I'll come and help you. Then, when we're finished, we can—" "No, I don't have to work, Petro." "Then why?" Petro looked puzzled. He and Michael always told each other everything. Why was Michael acting so queerly? "Petro," said Michael. "Petro, I can't meet you tomorrow. I just can't. And I can't tell you why either. It's a secret. It's a secret I promise not to tell anyone." Michael made a great circle in the dirt with his toe. He didn't want to look at Petro. He didn't want to see into Petro's eyes all the things he was thinking. "Can't tell me?" Petro shook his head. "You can't tell me, Michael? But we always tell each other everything. You know you can trust me. You know that, Michael." I know, Petro. If it were up to me, I'd tell you in a minute. But you see, I promised not to tell anyone. Not anyone, Petro. I promised on my honor. You do understand, don't you, Petro?" Petro stared at Michael. He didn't understand, and that was clear. He and Michael had always shared everything. What was the secret that had come between them? Their life on Capri was so simple. They worked, they ate, and they slept. What could Michael do? What could he know that he could not tell his best friend? They stood for a few minutes staring at the ground. Michael made more circles. Petro made squares. They had nothing to say to each other. Finally, Petro turned and started down the hill. "Well, good night, Michael." "Good night, Petro. I'll see you too." The words came before Petro could stop them. "Good night, Michael." Michael turned and walked back into the inn. He had never been so miserable in all his life. He thought of all the things he and Petro had done together. And Petro would not go to Naples because I couldn't go. Petro wouldn't go to Naples because I couldn't go. The words repeated themselves over and over. What greater test of friendship could anyone give? And now he, Michael, had shut Petro out. It was the cove that had come between them. Michael shuddered. Was it really bad luck, as everyone said? Was the cove beginning already to cast its evil spell upon him? Michael knew that he and Petro would always be friends, but somehow, after tonight, their friendship would never be quite the same again. To lose a real friend. Was the cove worth it? Michael went to bed, but he couldn't sleep. He thought of the two priests. He thought of his mother, worrying about them. He thought of the three guests, of his father, of himself. How many of the 6 who were going to the cove would be sleeping in their beds tomorrow night? But most of all, Michael thought of Petro. To lose a real friend. Was the cove worth it? Was any adventure worth it? Then Michael had an idea. If only Petro could go with him. If he could tell the secret to Petro, and he could go with him, then everything would be all right. The 2 priests, the danger, the evil powers of the cove suddenly seemed unimportant again. If only Petro could go, everything would be all right. Michael got out of bed and looked at the sky. The stars were still there, but they were growing fainter. Michael looked eagerly toward the east. As soon as the sun was up, he would go and talk to Angelo. When Michael awoke, the sun was high in the sky. He jumped out of bed, dressed quickly, and ran down the stairs to the kitchen. Breakfast was over. The kitchen and dining room were deserted. This was a piece of good luck. He could run down to see Angelo, and no one would know he had gone. They would all think he was still asleep. Michael had never covered the distance between the inn and Angelo's cottage so quickly. He slid and slipped and stumbled and rolled. He jumped from one rock to another. This was the Sunday he had been waiting for. But as he ran, he didn't think of the adventure that was only a few hours away. He thought only of what he would say to Angelo. "Angelo! Michael! Angelo!" Michael dropped down onto the sand, too exhausted to talk. "Angelo! That is my name. Angelo, listen." Michael gasped for breath. "Angelo, you know how it is with Petro and me. We are friends. No, we are more than friends. We are brothers. We have different mothers and fathers, but still we are brothers. Inside, we are brothers. You know how it is, Angelo." "Yes, Michael, I know." "Well, Angelo, last night Petro came by and, well, you know Petro and I always come together on Sunday and, oh, Angelo, couldn't we take Petro with us to the cove?" "Take Petro? Please, Angelo, please." "Petro? And his donkeys? He will bring his donkeys too, I suppose." "Oh, Angelo." "Well, how am I to know? First, Herr Nordstrom is going to the cove and everyone is frightened to death. Then I, big, brave Angelo, I'm going too. Then presto, everyone is going. Lord Derby, Monsieur Jacques, Signor Pagano, Michael, and now Petro too. Tell me, how am I to know that Petro's donkeys will not want to go also?" "But just one more, Angelo, just Petro." "Just one more, just one more. Why do we waste our time like this? I'll tell you what we should do, Michael. We should put up a sign in the marketplace. It should read something like this: Attention! Today at 12 o'clock there will be an expedition to the cove. Everyone is invited. Free lunch. Come and bring the children." Then in large red letters we should add, "This is a great secret. Do not tell anyone." "Oh, Angelo." "Well, where will he sit? There are 3 boats and 6 people. 2 people to a boat." "Petro's not very big. He and I together are not as big as Herr Nordstrom. We will make ourselves very small. You will see." "Well, oh, Angelo, I knew you would. Did I say yes? You didn't say no. All right, we'll leave it that way. I didn't say no." "Then it is all right? I can ask him to go with us?" "I didn't say no." "Oh, Angelo, you are wonderful. You always fix everything." "I have not said no yet, but if you stand there talking and wasting my time, there is no telling what I might say. Go, go, before I change my mind." "Thank you, Angelo, thank you. Go and be back before noon so you can help me load the boats." "Load the boats? What are we putting into them?" "Not you unless you hurry. Go, go, go." Once more Michael started off, clambering over the rocks and cobblestones, falling, slipping, sliding, crawling, pulling, grabbing, jumping, running, racing. Petro lived on the other side of the island. There was not much time. Finally he stood in front of Petro's house. "Petro, Petro!" There was no answer. Michael called. He rattled the door. He knocked and shouted and called again. "Petro, Petro!" Only the donkeys were at home. They stood huddled together in their little yard, looking the way donkeys always look on Sunday, bewildered by so much leisure. "Petro!" Michael couldn't believe that he wasn't at home. He had to be home. On this day of days, he had to be home. But he wasn't. No amount of shouting or calling would bring him. Where could he be? Where had he gone? Suddenly, the little island of Capri seemed very large. The beach, the roads, the village of Capri, Anna Capri, the steps, the mountains. Where should he look for his friend? Where would Petro go? Why had he gone? Why? Suddenly Michael knew why he had gone. Petro was lonely and disappointed. His best friend had deserted him. He wanted to be by himself. Michael, standing alone in front of Petro's cottage, thought he knew how Petro felt. How would he, Michael, feel if Petro had done the same thing to him? What would he do? Where would he go? At that moment, Michael knew where Petro had gone. He had gone to their special place up in the mountains, the place where Michael had taken Lord Derby to paint. They had discovered it, he and Petro, many years before. Since then, it had been their special meeting place, their secret retreat. It was the place they went when they were especially happy or especially disappointed. Michael looked up at the sky. Could he get to the top of the mountain and back by noon? What if he were late? Would they go without him? Michael rubbed his hands over his forehead and tried to think. The men might be willing to wait for him, but not the tide. If they hoped to get into the cave and out again during low tide, they would have to leave right at noon. With or without Michael, they would have to leave. Standing there, Michael knew that was true. There would be no waiting for anyone today. Michael looked at the sky again. Could he make it? Should he take the chance? If he started back to the harbor now, he would get there in plenty of time. Angelo had asked him to come early and help load the boats. Was it more important to help Angelo or find Petro? After all, he had tried to find Petro, and he wasn't at home. Certainly he, Michael, could not be blamed for that. He had done the best he could. Perhaps by evening it would not make any difference anyway. Perhaps Petro would be lucky if he didn't go. Michael started to run. Even while he was thinking, even while he was looking at the sun, he began to run. He had to find Petro. Even if he was late, even if he missed going to the cove, he had to find Petro. For the third time that morning, Michael ran as if possessed. Rocks and stones, dust and dirt scattered behind him. His clothes were torn, his hands scratched, his feet cut. But Michael scarcely noticed. He passed the village of Capri, the road that led to their inn, the steps to Anna Capri. Finally, he was on the little hidden path which led to the top of the mountain. He remembered how he had told Lord Derby that it was only a few feet further to the top. A few feet further. Michael lunged forward. He parted the bushes and looked around him. Petro! There was the sky and the sea and the cliffs, but no Petro. Petro! Had he come all this way, probably missed going to the cove, only to find that he had been wrong? Why had he been so sure that Petro would be here? It had been a wild guess, nothing more. Petro! Petro! And the mountains answered back, Petro! 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 Tears came to Michael's eyes. Standing there on the mountaintop, he felt more lonely and disappointed than he had ever felt before. The cove seemed very far away, too far away. The trip back down the mountainside seemed unbearably long. Petro! Petro! And again the mountain echoed. They seemed to be taunting him and teasing him. Petro! Petro! Michael knew he should start back. Every second counted, but he felt too exhausted to move. He felt too tired to do anything except stand and call, Petro! Petro! He found himself waiting for the echo, but this time his own name came back to him. Michael! 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 Petro's eyes peered around the edge of the cliff. Michael! Petro! Michael gasped, stared at Petro for a minute as if he could not believe his eyes, then turned and fled down the path. Petro, come quickly, he called back over his shoulder. There's not a minute to lose. I'll tell you all about it as we go. It was a strange conversation. Michael leaped from rock to rock like a young goat. Petro, confused and puzzled, leaped after him. Sometimes they were close together, sometimes as much as 50 feet apart. Michael shouted, but most of what he said was lost to Petro. I can't hear you, Petro kept shouting. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you saying, Michael? What are you saying? And all the while, strange words drifted back to him. Herr Nordstrom, philosophy, the cove, Angelo, Monsieur Jacques, Lord Derby, Papa, Angelo, 3 boats, Angelo, the tides, Angelo, noon, Angelo, today, hurry, Angelo, hurry. The hurry was all that Petro could understand. That and the fact that Michael had not deserted him after all. Whatever Michael was doing, he, Petro, was doing too. That was all that mattered. And we'll continue with chapter 10 in the next video. I hope you're enjoying the story. If you are, please reach down, click like, and subscribe. Come back for the next one. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.